Welcome to this video on simplifying expressions by collecting like terms. I'm making this video because many of you were away last class on the day that the grade 10s wrote the OSSLT. And I know that day 1, period 1, the supply did not pick up the lesson plan, and therefore there's no way you could have covered this. I have put also a couple of handouts on the website so that you can do them as you follow along in this video. So in order to be able to simplify by collecting like terms, you'll need to know what like terms are. And you were introduced to this in the handout we did called Polynomials Definitions, but we'll go over it again here. Like terms are terms with the same variables and exponents. So anytime you're trying to determine if two terms are alike, you simply need to check if they have the same variable and exponent. So we'll just do a couple examples here. If we have 4a and we have 5a, are these like terms? Well, you would check. Do they have the same variable? Yes, their variable is a. Do they have the same exponent? Yes, they have the same exponent. In this case, we would imagine a 1 here. Their exponent is both 1. Okay, and so they have the same exponent, therefore they are like terms. This also means that I could combine them. If I had 4a plus 5a, then I could end up with 9a. Alright, so let's do another example. If I had 7b squared and 7b. Again, I go to my checklist. Does it have the same variable? It does in this case. The variable is b, so it has the same variable. Does it have the same exponent? Well, this one has an exponent of 2, and this one has an exponent of 1. Therefore, they do not have the same exponent, and they are not like terms. Alright, one more example. What if we had here 5 and 6? So these are called constants. And do they have the same variable? Yeah, they both have no variable. And do they have the same exponent? Yeah, they have no exponent. So they are like terms. Constants are always going to be like terms. And this shouldn't be surprising to anyone because you've been adding numbers like 5 plus 6 together since you were probably in grade 1. So in the handout that some of you have received already and some will get off the website, you'll be asked questions like this one here, simplify by collecting like terms. And so what I've hinted at in the previous screen is that once you have terms that are like, you can add and subtract them the way you would normally with constants, with just numbers. Okay, so let's do this example first. I'm going to give you a couple of strategies that you can use to make sure that you do this correctly each and every time. So the question is 3x plus a plus 11x minus 6. Now what's very important for us to remember here is that we have to carry the sign, the plus or the minus, with the number or with the term. And so to make sure that we do that each and every time, we can put boxes around our terms and the operator. So you see 3x, and then I put a box around the plus as well. I'm going to put a box around plus 11x. I'm going to put a box around minus 6. Because when I move this minus 6, it's going to remain as negative 6. Okay? So one other strategy that we're using is to always start with the term that has the highest degree. What that means is the highest exponent. So in this case, only 3x and 11x have a variable and an exponent of 1, and the other two are constants. So we're going to start by putting down 3x, the variable that has an exponent of 1. So I would rewrite this on the next line as 3x plus 11x plus 8 minus 6. Okay, so this is here I've collected my like terms. Okay, and then for my next step, I'm going to add and or subtract the like terms. So if I do that here, I get 3x plus 11x is just going to be 14x. And 8 minus 6 is just going to be 2. And so this is my answer here, 14x plus 2. And I'll just add in this so you can remember, add or subtract like terms. Alright, pretty straightforward, but you want to make sure that you remember the strategy of putting boxes around the terms and the operators that are in front of them so that you can carry them down to the next line and make sure you do the correct operation. Okay, so let's do B from the handout. 13 minus x squared plus 4x squared minus 20 plus 6x squared. So we're going to start again by doing what we did last time, by putting boxes around each of the terms and the operators that are in front of them. And then that way we will make sure that we do the correct operations as we go through the rest of the question. Okay, so I've put my boxes around them. Now I'm going to start with the variable that has the highest degree. 2 is the highest exponent here. Has the highest exponent, and this says the highest exponent here is 2. So I'm going to go from left to right, and the first one I have is negative x squared plus 4x squared plus 6x squared. And then my next one is then I'm going to collect my constants. And sometimes what I do myself for this is I'll put a little check mark, especially if there's a lot of terms. You want to keep track of what you've already put in your next line. So I've gotten those 3, so now what I have left is 13 and negative 20. So I'm going to write it in as plus 13 minus 20. Okay. So now I have negative x squared plus 4x plus 6x. So negative x squared plus 4x equals negative x squared plus 4x squared equals 3x squared plus 6x squared is going to give me 9x squared. And 13 minus 20 is going to give me negative 7. So again, you can see that on this line here, I did step 1, which is collect the like terms. Here I did step 2, which is add and subtract the like terms. So one more example, negative 12x plus 9 plus 7x minus 1. So I'm going to begin again by putting boxes around each of the terms, including the operator that is in front of them. So I get negative 12x plus 9 plus 7x minus 1, or negative 1. Okay, and I'm going to start with the variable that has the highest exponent. In this case, the variable is x. The exponent for both of these is 1, and the other two terms are constants. So I'm going to start with the terms that have the variable x, and I would rewrite this line then as negative 12x plus 7x. And then if I just follow my bit of advice here, okay, now I know I've got those two terms. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to do plus 9 minus 1. Alright, so I've collected my like terms here. And for my next line, now I need to add and subtract those like terms. So negative 12x plus 7x gives me negative 5x. And 9 minus 1 gives me 8. And so this is my final answer here. So I know I said that the last question would be the last, but just to review some of the key concepts, we'll use question E here. So the first key concept from this video, like terms are terms that have the same variables and exponents. So in this question, if I was looking for the like terms, I would see that I have 11x and I have negative 13x, and very important that I remember to include the operator that is in front of the term. Okay, the other like terms that I have are negative 20 and 22. Okay, and then I also have this x squared, but there's no like term, so safe to say in the next line I'm going to be keeping x squared. So another couple of the other key concepts we covered in this video, when simplifying an expression, the first thing you want to do is put boxes around all of the terms and the operators that are in front of them. Alright, so in this case I would put it around 11x, I'll put it around negative 20, negative 13x, x squared, and 22. And then it says collect the like terms starting with terms with the highest exponents. So clearly the highest exponent in this question is x squared. So I would write x squared. And then the next term with the highest exponent is 11x and negative 13x. So I would write in plus 11x minus 13x. And then I would write in the remaining numbers, the constants negative 20 and plus 22, but also just because it's a good habit to get into. Sorry, it wasn't working there for a second. I want to check off the ones I've already done. So I've done those three. And we do this just because, or I do this just because it's a good way that I make sure that I get all of the terms in the next line. I don't forget any, okay, or I don't do any twice. And this becomes more necessary when the number of terms becomes longer. Alright, so then my next thing right here is minus 20 and plus 22. Okay, now in my next line I'm going to add or subtract like terms. There's nothing to add or subtract from x squared, so that will remain the same. Then I get 11x minus 13x, and it's the same thing as just saying 11 minus 13, but there is an x there. So 11 minus 13 would be negative 2, and because we're working with the like terms with a variable of x, we're going to put minus 2x. And then minus 20 plus 22 is going to give us the answer of 2. And then I've done this correctly, so hopefully you've been following along using your handout. If not, get your handout out and start working on it. Come back to the video if you need some more help. If you're still having trouble with anything, you know how to contact me either through Remind, through email in class, or in homework help.